Hello, everyone. My name is Alexis Mejia. I am the Assistant City Clerk for the City of Salinas. It is a pleasure to have everybody in attendance. I just wanted to do quick introductions of our council members, starting off with Mr. Tony Barrera. And then we have Councilmember Orlando Osorio, Councilmember Carla Gonzalez, Councilmember Anthony Rocha, Councilmember Andrew Sandoval, and then we also have our City Manager, Steve Kerrigan.
Welcome, bienvenidos. Welcome to the family reunion. Familia, un gran aplauso for all the car clubs that are represented here tonight. As you can see this evening, the city council that you see in front of you, we're here to support our community. And every positive idea, everything that comes from our community, we want to look at it and make Salinas even greater than what it is. Before I do that, I want to recognize Mr. Dominic Dursa from Assemblymember Robert Rivas' office. And then we have the chair of the Monterey County Board of Supervisors, Mr. Luis Alejo. And then, you know, I want to tell you the spirit behind this. And as you can see, there's unity among this council. But I want to acknowledge Mr. Orlando Osorio for being a visionary for these types of great events. Mr. Orlando Osorio has been a blessing to the city of Salinas in the short time he's been on the council. And as you see, most of us are up here because we believe in the vision of bringing our community together. And once this ordinance passes, I'm just going to take that step ahead because, and then later on in the show, you're going to hear from one of our assembly member, Robert Rivas' representative, Dominic Dursa, as well, what's happening on the state level. So un gran aplauso para esta gente, un gran aplauso por el día. I'm going to ask Orlando Osorio to say some words because he has been the vision behind this. Un gran aplauso.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for coming out today. Thank you, Tony. Those are very thoughtful words, but to be honest with you, it's everybody that's here today. When you hear folks talk about the work that they've done, you talk to, even up until yesterday, I had a conversation with Victor Cervantes, and all of the work that folks like him, the Tavares Car Club, the New Arrivals, and that's just to name a few of them, right? But look at all of the unity when it comes to talking about an issue that is something that we want to bring back and have a discussion about. So what I can say is, for us up here, we create that platform to make sure that community members like yourself, you guys are invited to that conversation, making sure that you guys know that you guys are here, and we're going to represent you the best way that we can. So today is really a celebration of showing what community could do when local officials and us work together. So the real applause here should be to you guys that have been doing this. And so with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Alexis here, and we'll go ahead and get started for tonight.
Let's hear it for Alexis.
All right, so how did we get to where we are today? So the City Council appointed a car club subcommittee back in January 10th of this year. The council appointed Councilmember Barrera and Councilmember Osorio to the subcommittee. It is an internal subcommittee that the City of Salinas established with the support from the administrative staff, the Salinas Police Department, Salinas Fire, and our Library and Community Services Division. What we did is we established the intent, and the intent of this committee is to focus on community and car club engagement and to revisit the Salinas Municipal Code, Chapter 20, Article 14, regarding the cruising ordinance for the city. Next slide. All right, so some brief history on the ordinance. Ordinance number 2169 was adopted back in June 16th of 1992. This ordinance came about due to the recommendations from an ad hoc committee that was established in 1988 that oversaw the activities related to cruising from 1988 to 1989. During the review, the ad hoc discovered that there were 17 instances related to cruising where there was issues of traffic congestion, violence, alcohol use and abuse, and littering that was happening within the private properties where the cruising community was hanging out on. So what had happened is, based on all the feedback that they received from the ad hoc committee, as well as the property owners of the private properties, the council unanimously voted a 6-0 vote to establish a no cruising ordinance. Next slide. So this is the actual ordinance with the language that prohibits it. It basically just states that no cruising is allowed within the city of Salinas, with the exact language of what cruising is considered to be for the city. Next slide. So it is important for us as a city to understand the difference between cruising and sideshows. There is a lot of misconception that these may be the same thing, which realistically it isn't. So as a subcommittee, we established some of the major differences and traits that happen between cruising and sideshows. Cruising, there's repetitive driving that occurs, either that's back and forth or parking on the side as you're viewing your other fellow cruisers, driving back and forth at a slower speed than that of the current traffic limits. Then in comparison to sideshows, typically those happen on private property. A lot of the times, it's pretty common nowadays to see sideshows occurring at Circle K, or Sonic, or any private parking lots. The issue with that is that there is a lot of reckless driving, there is a lot of burnouts or donut competitions. I know you guys have seen those videos on Instagram, but we wanted to establish that we understand there's a difference and we want to respect that cruising is its own entity, and we respect the cruising of the city, whereas sideshows, it's not something that the city agrees on. We also want to establish the acknowledgement that there are other cities working towards removing the cruising ban, the no cruising ban. Cities like San Jose, Sacramento, and most recently National City are all a lot of the cities within the state of California that have been working towards removing the ban on cruising. A lot of those cities, what we did is we reviewed their ordinances, we reviewed how they went about to removing it, how they implemented it, and how they worked with the local car club communities on getting the support from them to creating a safe environment for cruising. At the state level, there is an assembly bill currently in the works, Assembly Bill 436. This bill would remove the authorization from local entities like our local government to regulate the cruising and ultimately remove the no cruising bans that are in place. We do want to acknowledge that it is in the process still of getting approved. It has gone through 3 subcommittees of the Assembly, which have passed. Currently, it is in the process of getting added to the consent calendar for approval from the Assembly. If it does get approved, then it would go to the Senate for final approval, and then that's when it would get implemented by the state of California. It is still fairly early in the process, but it seems like it's going in the right path. We also do want to acknowledge that there is another Assembly concurrent resolution, Assembly Resolution number 176. This resolution was approved last year in 2022, which recommended that cities and law enforcement agencies work with car club communities to acknowledge that there is a culture of the car club and cruising, and to work with them on creating safe cruising events that can occur within the city limits. So what is it that the City of Salinas is proposing? With the collaboration of the subcommittee, we came together to propose a pilot cruising program. This proposition is to have an initial cruise in August of this year. The cruise would go from East Burnell on North Main all the way to East Curtis Street on North Main. We are anticipating to have it on a weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, based on the feedback we received, from about 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. The intent of this is to have more of a controlled environment where we have SPD and fire standing by should an incident occur. If there's any violent actions that occur, traffic congestion, traffic accidents, we do want to respect the community and respect your very luxurious and expensive vehicles that you guys have. So that's the intent. Obviously, the meeting today is to talk about if you guys agree with this pilot cruising program or not, if you guys want to see something different. That's what we're trying to see from today. So we do have a small list of car club contacts. What we did is, if individuals signed up at the sign-up sheet at the front, we're going to go ahead and collect all that information and connect with all the car club committees and the presidents and vice presidents, as well as liaisons, to see how we can get everybody at the table to have an external meeting with stakeholders to see how we can get this process going on removing the cruising ban. So what are our next steps? So the most important one is on every individual's tables. I think maybe the back tables may not have these, but there's a survey sheet that we have. It's going to look like this paper, double-sided. It's really important that you give us your feedback on whether you agree with amending the ordinance, whether you agree with the pilot cruising program or not, who you are as a stakeholder, so that we can go ahead and connect with you guys, meet with the car club communities, and discuss the results that we get from the survey today. Moving on, we will go ahead and inform the community of all the data we collect, whether that's through our social medias or through an email distribution list that we have. We want to compile all the information and then show everybody if there is a positive overlook on removing the cruising ban or if individuals think otherwise. And then lastly, if we do proceed with a pilot cruising program, we want to establish a planning team. This planning team would work out all the logistics on where exactly these cruises would happen, where designated parking areas would be to allow individuals to be in and out of the cruise if they want to see all their other friends cruise around, as well as time and place and all those logistics. All right, and so like I said throughout this presentation, this meeting is intended to get the whole community together, get the car club enthusiast community together, get residents involved, and see what the buy-in is from the community. At the end of the day, this is the city of Salinas' community. You guys are our people. We respect the car club community. We want to work with you guys, and so it's important that we receive your input. What we would also like to do is we'll go ahead and give time for individuals to speak up on if they want to see a pilot cruising program, how they feel about the no cruising ordinance. We have 2 mics set up right here, as well as we have colorful card sheets. I know certain individuals may not feel comfortable with public speaking, so we have colorful card sheets on your tables. If you wish to submit like a public comment, in a sense, but don't want to speak up on the mic, feel free to write your comment or questions on those card sheets. We'll go ahead and collect all those at the end of the meeting. And then we'll go ahead and compile all the data like I said, and then we can move on from there. If I can briefly show a raise of hands of individuals that are wishing to speak regarding this, so that way we can see how much time we can give. All right, perfect. So we'll go ahead and give 2 minutes for every individual. But before that, we do have Dominic Dursa here. He's going to provide a little bit more detailed information regarding that assembly bill we went over to see where it is in the process.
On behalf of Assemblymember Rivas, first, thank you to Councilmember Osornio who contacted our office to share a bit of this information today. I know there's been a lot of questions. You know, Rob from Masa Fedoras out there, always sharing information on social media. He's reached out on this. One of the things going on is things like laws, ordinances, legislation, they can happen in government at different levels at multiple times. What you're here to talk to the city of Salinas about today is how to bring back cruising in Salinas. But there's also an effort going on statewide through Assembly Bill 436, introduced by a member named David Alvarez. to introduce the possibility of bringing back cruising throughout California. So it wouldn't be just Salinas, but from those from Castroville, from Soledad, Gonzales, Greenfield, King City, throughout the state, could once again experience cruising. And so one of the things we're looking for is this, is we've gotten a lot of questions about it, and so we spoke to Assemblymember Alvarez's team. If you have comments, just like you have comments and input you want to give to the city of Salinas, feel free to contact our office so that we can share your questions, your concerns, your comments with Assemblymember Alvarez's team. They also offered, if you have leadership teams from your car clubs and you want to meet with their office specifically to talk about how the bill is going, we're more than happy to set that up. Because remember, where these ordinances have been repealed have oftentimes been in larger cities. You know, whether you're talking about LA, Sacramento, San Jose, National City, it is smaller, but we really haven't seen this happen yet in rural communities. And sometimes things work a little bit differently there. So what we have the ability here today is to capture your voices, share them with Assemblymember Alvarez's team. That way, as this bill is proceeding, you have the opportunity to make sure your voice is heard. And so as far as how the timeline works, as was previously mentioned, it's actually moving pretty fast through the Assembly. But it still takes time. There's the process to get voted out of the Assembly. As Supervisor Alejo can probably attest, things aren't always guaranteed. They're not always fast. He's a former Assembly member himself. It would still have to, again, go through the Senate, where, again, there is a committee process. It'll probably have to go through 3 before going for a vote to the Senate floor. This thing could end up happening as late as September. And obviously, I think people want to get things a little bit more faster and perhaps experience stuff in the summer again. So the opportunity you have here today is to work with your city of Salinas to move something faster, but you also have the opportunity to raise your voice on the statewide level so that these opportunities aren't just available in Salinas, San Jose, Los Angeles, and Sacramento. I left some forms at the table when you entered with our contact information. If you want to get a hold of us, we left our phone number there. Unfortunately, I didn't think there would be this many people here, but I will leave a few cards there. There's a QR code on it. That way, if you use your phone, you can access our number. And if you have a pen right now, feel free to take it down. 831-759-8676. That's 831-759-8676. So if you want to make sure that your voice is heard on the state bill, let us know. Assemblymember Rivas and his team are more than willing to work with you on this. Thank you to the City of Salinas for this. Thank you.
I'm going to need a little bit more time than what you're giving me, because we had a meeting among clubs and we came in agreement that, you know, so that we don't all say the same thing over and over. I'm going to be speaking on behalf of a lot of the car clubs that are here right now. One of the things that we want to say is, first of all, let me say, my name is Victor Montes. Most of you guys know me already, and I'm involved with a lot of activities with the community. And that's what I'm here for, and that's why the clubs that met with me on that day decided that I continue speaking on behalf of them, because this issue was brought up a long time ago that we needed to lift that ban on cruising. And we did a Cruise Against Hunger. Our club did that street light, and working together with the Food Bank and the Salvation Army in collaboration with our mayor, city council, and also police activity leads, PAL. They facilitated the place so that we could do that. One of the obstacles that I had with putting that cruise together was opposition from, at that time, Great Corpus city manager. Reason why is because cruising is against the law, so therefore they cannot support it. So I was able to have that cruise, but with limitations. So now I'm here to tell you guys that we are willing to work with the city, we are willing to work with the community, and what we do as clubs is we do fundraisers. We help, our local churches, local schools, local nonprofits. We do that as a whole, and we're not asking for a lot. I think that in the past, years, we have proven that we have been stereotyped as a certain type of group of, individuals or community members. And we are not what we've been stereotyped as. A lot of us are business owners, we're educators, we're, nurses, members of the community that are involved with a lot of organizations that have everything to do with kids, and that's our focus, is so that we can have this culture in the future for our future generations. We have our kids to come around, and we're trying to teach them the right way to represent our culture, and that's our lowrider culture. So, we're just asking the city to lift the ban, and I believe that we have proven ourselves that, we are not bad people. We are members of the community. We do a lot for the community, and I myself, I'm involved with a lot of different functions that have to do with the community. So that is the reason why I started working on this back when Joe Gunter was alive. And this whole process started. I started talking to him, and then he passed away. Gloria La Rosa retired, and then I picked it back up with the new mayor and the new city manager. And we were in talks about this. Unfortunately, I had some personal problems that I had to deal with. My mom passing away and all that. But here we are, and I believe this is what we started. So now with this bill going and circulating through Sacramento, I think that pretty much speaks for itself, because even though it might have, the time lapse or whatever the situation might be, from the looks of it, it looks like it's a done deal. So we're asking the city to work with us, the lowrider community, so that we're able to work together and keep things that way that they have been going, helping out the local charities, the local community, and that's basically what we're asking. And we're asking that in behalf of, all the, lowrider community that's here, off the top of our head. I mean, we got, Aztec Legacy, New Legacy, we got Cashville Midnighters, we have Immortals, Cashville, we have, Crusaders, Art Club, Street Life, we have Tavares, we have New Arrivals. I mean, the list goes on and on, everybody's here, New Trend, it's just 93905. All the clubs are here, and we all want the same thing, is we want to be able to do our cruises without having to worry about, consequences, basically, of getting pulled over or stuff. I know that some of the issue or some of the comments was that it is not affecting us because it is not being enforced. Correct. But that all can change overnight. So the best way to do this is to lift the ban, and that's what we're asking as a whole, as a lowrider community. Thank you for your time.
Everybody. First of all, I want to thank everybody for showing up today and supporting the cause. I want to send a shout out to Mr. Osorio, somebody that I had the pleasure to work with in the past. My name is Jose Urquizo. I'm a member of the community, sales manager for Allstate Insurance. All of you, I have some customers here, so thank you for showing up. Also, as the past vice president of all the major banks in Salinas, I'm a community supporter of these types of events, and I have a son that recently got sworn into the police department here in Salinas, so we're a productive, everybody here is a productive member of the community, all right? So I just want to give you guys all a sense of where we come from, what kind of background we have. A lot of us are business owners and productive members of the community. All we want to do, again, is lift the ban, work within the city limits, and ensure that we work hand in hand to make sure that it's a win-win for everybody. We're one of the nonprofit car clubs as well, and we do raise funds to give back to the schools as well. So just want to let you guys know a little bit about my club. I have most of my members here represented, and all of my brothers here that are here. So thank you, and we want the Van Deputy, Mr. Osorio, thank you for representing.
Well, first I'd like to preface this by saying that I'm not a public speaker, and I do not represent any car clubs. I do have my statement in writing, and I did edit a lot of it for brevity, though it was much longer because this topic right here, I guess, legalization of cruising, or better yet, the permitting process of cruising, is something that is very meaningful to me. I've been cruising for a while, busted cars, I've been fixing them. I'm working on a couple of cars right now for my father. My headpiece over there, brought him over here. I brought my children, my carnales couldn't make it. But I brought the whole family so that they could see what it means like when somebody cares about something and decides to express themselves. When I started thinking about this whole permit thing, I started really just focus on that word, permit. The fact that a cultural form of expression would be required by the city to be permitted. To some of us, cruising, low riding, fixing old cars, it's a way of life. And I'm divided in the matter that the city would feel the need to permit that, to sanction an activity that is so meaningful, and it really is a form of cultural expression, not only that, but artistically. And I tried to do some research beforehand to see what happened 30 or so years ago when the city decided to prohibit the congregation of lowriders, cruisers, and people that feel lack of mind. And I could just find an old article on some old magazine that stated that back 20 or so years ago, 2 people got shot. No homicide, just shot. But I think therein lies the problem, that we tend to think that cruisers, people that work on old cars, are gangbangers, riffraff, up to no good. And as a matter of fact, I can tell you that every day that I get out of work, make it back home, slap on some bundle in a car so that my son can help me, we work for others and we work for ourselves. We have no time for trouble. And I just do it to keep my son busy and educate him on what these things mean to people that are trying to represent 2 cultures. In my case, that's Chicano, to represent the roots of Mexicans and the pride that I feel as an American. So I wrote Again, I am an independent individual, not a member of the car club, ride solo. Nonetheless, I hope that my words do resonate with the parliament of lowriders that we see before us. And I wrote a little something, which I feel is probably a more concise way of putting what I feel into words. And I hope that I make people like myself, including these members of these fine organizations, proud. But cruising is not a way of life. To some, it is the meaning of life. From the moment that the first Mexican American was misunderstood, he knew it was his responsibility to be understood and accepted for who he was, a person who had the honor and obligation of representing 2 nations respectfully and with pride. These individuals, who call themselves Chicanos, have also created an original culture. The Chicanos love themselves, and they express that love through all forms of artistic means. The most unique form of cultural expression came to be displayed through their vehicles, which they call the ranflas, but others know as lowriders. The vehicle has always been a form of freedom, in particular, the freedom of movement. With the turn of a key and with a tank full of gas, one can set out to travel to see the beautiful things the world has to offer. It is only sensible to think that one would take pride in the ride. The Chicano not only did, but they furthered the expression of the self through the personalization of the cars. They were painted in iridescent colors lowered, and they were made to hop and dance as vigorously as their owners did to jazz in the boogaloo. Simply put, the better the car looked, the more chido or cooler it was.
Yes.
The Ranfla became an artistic form of freedom and expression for the Chicano, a most American concept. But the Chicano was misunderstood and misjudged, and they drew the undesired attention of those that distrusted them. They were placed behind bars solely for their attire and slang. Without doubt, their unique ways excluded them of the acceptance by others, but it also developed a community. That community shares a mutual love of cruising, and they like nothing more than displaying to others the pride of the work that they put into the rides. Taking pride in one's work. This is a concept that most do not appreciate when they think about the lowrider builders. While many consider those that ride them criminals and riffraff, the fact is that no one can build a lowrider without working hard and earnestly, not without investing money and time. In short, the criminal has little to do with the hard-working and dedicated lifestyle of those that cruise. And cruising is now a movement and form of identification for all races, sexes, and colors of Americans. So, when someone says cruisers are no good, they insult more than the Chicano. They insult the ones that keep their noses clean, the ones who feel the responsibility to honorably represent more than just themselves, those that go through the expensive pints of paint in order to find the colors that they see in their dreams. They offend those that cruise with the love of their life sitting next to them. They insult those that believe in freedom of expression. They belittle those that want to let others know they are alive. Something the cruisers' motto is low and slow, but it's probably closer to proud and in love, because they have to be proud and in love of who they are, where they're from, and where they are now. Cruising means vida, or life, to them. The cruisers, especially the Chicanos, have obligations to themselves and to others, and they will oblige, and they will make it look chido.
So, while I was sitting here and listening to talk about the culture and all that, I was thinking, one of the things that Salinas, when it comes to lowriders and, art on wheels is what we call it, we have represented in the lowrider community when it comes to the Lowrider magazine. So, we ourselves had Lowrider of the Year, which was Local 64, in the Lowrider magazine. The Crusaders had, Local 46, the Bomb of the Year, right? And right now, as it stands, we have here Frank Calderon, which is the standing Lowrider Bomb of the Year. And that's always much up. Can you stand up, Frank? So when it comes to lowriding, we have put Salinas in the map. And not because of the bad publicity that we get, but because of the type of work, effort, and money that we put into these vehicles. That, the feeling is, you cannot express it. One of the things that I was reading on the comments, when you guys posted that flyer, somebody put a comment on there, and he kept saying, nothing good comes out of Salinas. Nothing good comes out of Salinas. So let me tell you, that mentality is still going on here in Salinas. But what I answered to this person is that apparently he hasn't been involved with our community. He hasn't been involved with our schools. How many doctors have become out of Salinas? How many Olympians have come out of Salinas? How many soccer players come out of Salinas? There is a lot of good people that have come out of Salinas, but they don't get the acknowledgement that they deserve. And I just wanted to bring that up. It has nothing to do with the law writing, but it has to do with the comments that this individual was making on the page when you guys posted that flyer. So, you know, there's a lot of good in Salinas. We're just not looking for it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Robert Haas. I'm a 63-year-old businessman, been cruising Salinas since the 1970s. I miss it. And I was part of it when it was taken away. And it left a hole in my life and most of my friends' lives that we all stood around and tried to figure out what we did wrong. And I'm afraid that if we don't look at our mistakes, we're going to repeat them. Okay? It wasn't about gangs. It wasn't about territory, turf, or color. We screwed up because we lost the respect for the property that we were using. This city cannot afford to clean up after us. Business owners cannot deal with having to come to work in the morning and finding beer bottles laying on the ground in front of their stores. Homeowners don't want to get up in the morning to go to work and see trash in the gutter that isn't theirs. That's our fault. We did that. There were shops like Service Center, Goodies, Dawson's. These companies were here for us. The cruising community, we buy these parts for our cars. We support these businesses, and they knew it. They were there for it. But when the cruising disappeared, the interest in fixing up the cars pretty much went away too. There's more to it than just lowriders. I'm a hot rodder, right? But I'm also a businessman. As a business owner, part of my business is in the working on these old cars. I own a glass shop. I chop the windshields on those chop-top sleds you guys are cruising around. Right? So I have a vested interest in it professionally, but socially, it's more important to me. I want my friends' children and their children to grow up with that social dynamic. We met our best friends on Main Street. Think about that. Yeah. And they're still our friends. If we're to ask Salinas to rethink this, I think we have a responsibility to prove to them that we respect what they're doing for us by self-policing. All of us in this room took our time to be here tonight. It's the exact same effort it takes when you see somebody doing something that is so antisocial. You know they're offending people that have nothing to do with what we're doing. So we have to say, hey, you know, that's not cool. And tell them why it's not cool. You know, it's not about being a hard-on. It's about being a socially responsible person and being a mentor. All right? I see a few young faces here. When I cruised that entire strip, if we saw someone 25 years old, we would ask, what is that old dude doing? I'm in my 60s, and I still want to get in my 55 and cruise around. You're here. All right? So I think that we owe, as a community, we owe the city of Salinas a big thank you for reconsidering. I'll do my part in 2 years. Yeah. Right.
I hate to bust all your people's bubbles on your cars, but before the cars came around, my name is Scott, lived in Salinas all my life. I worked for the same company for 40 years. Now I'm retired. It's been hard retiring because what I got involved in was bikes. So now you talk about all these cars, but nobody's mentioned any bikes. The lowrider bike's been around for a long time.
Yeah, that's right.
We started off with a basic bike. Somebody started customizing it for whatever reason. Now you got bikes with hydraulics.
Yep.
You got bikes with engravings. They got more engravings than a car does now. Now you got electronics on them with the screen TVs, the turntables. So if you're going to put a cruising night in, we need a place to park our bikes. We need that lot to unload, reload, park, and have our spot so that when the lowrider car comes by, he doesn't steal our spot. The motorcycle guy on the rice rocket doesn't steal our spot. No, we want our spot too, just like anybody else.
You got it, you got it.
So some of these younger kids, they are older now, the younger kids, they started off with a bike. Then they would go down Main Street when they'd sneak off out of the house and not get in trouble, but we all got in trouble for that. But now, the bike culture, a custom frame, just one frame is $1,000 with no wheels, no seat, no paint, no nothing. So I got one bike, I got $2,000 just in wheels. Just the labor and the theme and the idea. But I have to go all the way to San Jose, got to go to Gilroy, got to go to Fremont to be in the bike culture that's up there. Because it's real hard. Watsonville has some lowriders, Cashville does. Salinas has some, but it's not really a club for them. Some of the kids are in with their parents' clubs. So it's kind of hard to ride around on a bike in the back of someone's 63 Chevy Impala with the convertible. I got to load my kids, got to load the bike. They got nowhere to go. So the parents aren't going to take them because they can't take their bikes. So if we can get a spot for bikes, fixies, mountain bikes, road bikes, that would even be great. But I didn't hear anybody talk about that, but I know some of you kids have them. Not so much for the pedal car, it's kind of hard. You can set up a pedal car if you want to for all the work you did into our strollers and models and stuff like that. But if there's an area just for the kids that they can put stuff out there and let their parents go cruising around or whatever, that type of thing would be great. You guys are thinking about that. No one said anything about us. I don't like the wheelie guys too much. The wheelie guys, those guys are pretty good on a bike. But, it's hard to get the inner cultures mixed together so everyone accepts what they do. But whatever type of bike you ride, you put a lot of money into it, a lot of pride into it, just like a guy does in a car. And they're hard to move around just like a car is. You don't have a trailer, you have someone that's going to help you. There's a big difference in them. But that's all. Thank you.
I want to say something about the bikes too. Well, right now I might start a little bit because I have a little bit of problems with I'm also a special ed student, type of thing like that. But bikes are also a really big thing. It may be a little bit more quiet, but I mean, even as a bike club, we're pretty much one of the last ones in Salinas that I've seen. I haven't really seen any other bike clubs around either way. But even as a bike club, we do a lot for the community. Even since on East LSL, we host sometimes cruise nights, smaller cruise nights with friends, other people from Cashville, Salinas clubs. And we try to do a lot for the community, support local businesses, a lot of things like that. We may be young. I'm 16, my little bit is 12. I have another friend 17. We're a small club right now for the Salinas chapter. We have other chapters, but we're still a little small. But after bikes, well, it's cars, but even with the bikes having them out, sometimes we're afraid of losing them because they can get really expensive. They are really expensive nowadays. I have to go up north. Sometimes I go out with my father, since he works out of town. I go out there to get bike parts and other things. I take advantage of that. Out here, there's not really a bike scene, but we still try to make the best out of it. That's all I needed to say. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is David Cisneros, and I'm here representing the Castro Moonlighters. And first of all, I would like to thank the city of Salinas. Without them, with all their hard work, we wouldn't be here. And we're not just a club. Look at everybody here. We're united. We're united. And you can tell that everybody wants the same thing. So Cruising is not a crime. We're out here having a great time, showing off their cars, people with their airbags, people with their hydraulics, just beautiful rides, and the pride they have in them. So we would like to ask the city if they can lift the ban on cruising. And I know we're heading in the right direction, and thank you guys for all your hard work.
Well, I was on Filipino time, so I got here late, but I'm glad I made it. And I'm not, I had lunch with John Jimenez from Tavares family. He told me he would text me before coming out here. Did he make it out here?
He's asleep. He's asleep.
Yeah, well, I bought him lunch at patio, and he still didn't call me. So I'm a local business owner. I actually started low riding in mini trucks. I got my first experience at about 13 years old at Gloucester Park. And here I am, a Filipino kid, didn't know nothing about the Mexican culture, and I'm like, what the hell? They drive up and down this road all night long, hang out in the park, beautiful women, good-looking men, no problems whatsoever. Then I learned about Main Street, but that was only kind of for the hot rodders, lifted trucks, and I said, what? East Alisal? And then we learned, I used to cruise King and Story, I used to cruise Matilda and Sunnyvale. So my point is that youth are always, and older people, we're always looking for something to do to have something in common. And if the city of Salinas would consider lifting the ban on cruising, I'm going to have to play the devil's advocate as far as we all have to realize times have changed. And I see a lot of old schoolers, and I see a lot of people that I literally grew up with in the low riding, mini trucks, car shows. We want to give something, like I have a 9-year-old daughter, I'd love to show her what cruising is. I'd love to show her what all the different races, people, beliefs, just go out there to be social, not on social media, talking mess to each other like my son does for 10 hours a day on video games, and show them a culture of getting their hands dirty, like those youngsters, very proud of them. I've seen their bikes, I've seen them at the shows, and believe me, and I'm not just going to say in Salinas, but anywhere else, they could be doing a lot of dumb stuff, but they put their pride, their energy, their focus into that craft. And, and it takes a lot. I went broke working on lowriders and mini trucks. Straight up went broke, and I loved it because I looked around and I knew there was so much stuff that I could have been doing stupid things. But I do want to make a point to the lowrider community. You guys have always welcomed me in with open arms. You know I try to do whatever I can for the community. A gentleman brought up the point of, I'm a local business owner and I have to clean up my 2 retail stores every day up in front. Every day. And then people, in the same breath, I'm chasing away homeless people. And then later on that night, I'm bringing out food, coffee, and whatever, and I'm feeding them also. So it's a double-edged sword that we have to, if the city is kind enough to lift the ban, we have to make sure as the lowrider, car, community, because everyone's going to come out. The motorcycles are going to come out. The people on the bikes are going to come out. I don't know if it's said, but knuckleheads are going to come out. And unless we look past, hey, I just want to cruise, this is going to be a mission, everybody. It's going to be a mission. And I don't want Salinas to hear all this, good stuff, when we know, and I'm telling you right now, I am willing to meet whatever it takes, the committee, whatever, if the cruising ban is lifted, to get people together to make sure things are cleaned up, to make sure things are looked after, to make sure things are put in check, because that's what it's going to take. Back in our day, we used to load a foosball table over there at Fantasy Arcade in the back of a pickup truck and drive up, and Ted knows, drive up and down Main Street and play foosball. Times aren't like that anymore. And I just want to make sure we all know it's a different challenge, because what we're trying to do is give kids social skills. That's what I know about, what I feel about bringing cruising back. to get kids out there, to meet the old schoolers, to meet the lowriders of the year, to show them Salinas isn't all bad. A good friend of mine always says, and someone started a movement, love Salinas or more Salinas. It's a great movement because I've been in business in Salinas over 30 years, and believe me, I see the bad, but I choose to embrace the good. And once again, my point is to Salinas, we know it's going to take more than you guys saying, all right, let's go. You guys can cruise, let's do this. It's going to take a lot more, and I want to make sure the lowrider community knows it's going to take, just like you guys plan a show, just like all the other stuff you do, it's going to take a lot of planning, and every week, or if they allow us to cruise once a month, once a week, every week or month, someone has to get together, a crew of people, to say, this is what went good, this is what went bad, this is how we're going to control it and make it even better. Because if not, then once again, a business owner like me, I'm going to be a little bee about it. I'm going to say, wait a minute, I got cups, beer cans, everything. That's what's going to kill it. That's what's going to kill it. But thank you guys.
So on the comment that Angel made, Angel, in response to that, we're actually working on that, what you talked about, and we met as clubs, some of us met up, and we talked about that issue, and that was one of the main things, and that was what we're trying to avoid, is that when we go out to a place, we leave it like it was, and that was one of the things, is cleaning up our mess, cleaning up after ourselves, and making sure that the customers feel comfortable going to that business, and instead of turning away business, we're helping, the business owners to make more capital on that day, and that's one of the emphasis that we talked about as clubs. So that's how we plan on helping our community, helping our business owners, and basically cleaning up after ourselves and looking up after each other, make sure that we're all doing our part so that doesn't happen, because that is the last thing we need, is to go back to square one. And thank you.
My name is Masa. I just want to, it's been beautiful. This is beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful. Within the Car Club family, I hope that collectively you guys can work in bringing something to the table here. I want to thank the city for even this presentation, showing that you acknowledge even the difference between a sideshow and cruising, in order to not, what I say is, none of you, when it comes to cruising, you're not criminals. That's definitely, I want you guys to have that in mind. But either way, as far as, I just wanted to say to the city, I know that they just kind of threw a pilot thing on the side. I ask of you as a car clubs to hopefully have something similar like this, to address certain situations, to address certain things, and then as a collective to see whatever, if this works or not. So I just ask, that's pretty much it. This is a beautiful thing. You are very, very powerful as people. I just want to make sure that as a whole, this is beautiful. But anyways, thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Pete Tavares. I'm with Tavares Family CC, and I want to thank everyone down here. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank everybody, the City Council, for allowing us to be here. You heard it all. They said it all. I can't really say that much. I'm not going to say that many words out there. 31 years ago, Ordinance 2169 was lifted out here, and if everybody here was oblivious, take away 31 years from everybody that's here that has blue hair. Exactly. They're about the same age as the youngsters that were down here right now with the bikes. But 31 years ago, it was cruising was banned, and I think we're here today. I don't want to talk about who I am, what I do, what I'm about here. All I want to do, and I think I speak for everybody here, lift Ordinance 2169. Yeah. Please. You asked us a question when you were up there. You asked us a question. How do we feel about the pilot program? Then we ask you a question. How do the city of Salinas feel about lifting 2169 for us? All we are now is just a group of men, car clubs, and women. There's women clubs out there too now. Right. And we want to go out with our males and females, listen to jams, some oldies, go cruise, go commingle with the people that are out there that are in the same program that we're in. Everybody's welcome and invited, and make it home okay without breaking down. Live 2169, please. Thank you.
Thank everybody that spoke up today and addressed some of the concerns. One last time, if you can please take the time to complete the survey, we really would appreciate you taking the time. This is how we know how to proceed with either a pilot cruising program with completely lifting 2169 or not. Please, it's very important that you complete it. If you can just leave it at your tables when you leave, and then we'll have Councilmember Osornio Rivera for final remarks.
Yeah, so again, thank you everybody for coming out. I refer to him as Masa as well, but like Rob said, it's really great to see all of the folks that came out tonight and to really be able to see the voice that you guys have. Us as city council members, we're voted in by the people. And so to be able to make sure that folks know that we are right there with you guys, listening, taking notes, and to be able to have this meeting, I just wanted to say thank you to Alexis. I wanted to say thank you for facilitating the meeting. I also did want to acknowledge the committee, the internal committee with the city of Salinas. We have police, we have fire, we have city manager, we have Parks and Rec, city attorney. So we have a lot of internal folks that are in that meeting, just kind of brainstorming and creating something like this. So for us, this was the step number one, hearing from the community. That's step number one. So we're barely on our way to figure out what it is that you guys would like to see. So if I could just make a recommendation, filling out this form, it's critical. If you guys can just really quickly, it's 5 questions real quick, just leave it where you guys are at and let the city of Salinas know what you guys would like to see when it comes to cruising. So again, thank you so much for coming out. I'm so happy that everybody showed up today, and I appreciate getting the opportunity to work with you guys.
Si se puede.
Sí se puede.
Salinas, we're going to send a great message to the state of California tonight. Just before, we do want to thank all the staff that participated. Putting this thing together was a lot of people. I want to acknowledge a good friend of the lowrider, Police Officer Chief Roberto Felice. And also a lowrider himself, Police Sergeant Magana. Before we leave, I want to ask, and this is real, we want to send a strong message, just like Mr. Tavares was saying. We want to take it all the way to Sacramento. Let's show them that Salinas is united in this. We're going to take a humongous group picture up here, on the floor up here. So vénganse todos, rápido. We're going to do it. We're going to send a message to California. I want all the presidents, vice presidents up on the stage. I want the 3 young bikers que se vengan acá arriba. Yes, thank you. Everybody, corre.